Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lunchtime Special podcast, a show about life, death, and everything in between. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome, fellow lunchers, or should I say fellow conspirators, to the Lunchtime Special podcast, coming to you from the US government-sponsored simulation we call Australia. On today's show, we will disclose, debunk, and discuss our favourite conspiracy theories. On our covert Black Ops panel today, we have FBI informant Ian.
What's up, everyone?
The fathomless void we call Saranga.
Yo.
Director of Propaganda and Abstract Perception, Atish.
Hi, Tim.
We have our rogue crisis actor, Brad.
Hello.
The secret initiate of the all-powerful Illuminati, Katie.
Hi, guys.
Special agent of cybersecurity's infiltration, Andre.
Hello.
And me, Spiro, your innocent bystander, roped in at gunpoint to host this show. All right, it's an open question to everyone here. How does it feel to live on a flat Earth in a country that doesn't exist? Ian?
Look, as an FBI agent, I cannot disclose any information about the existence or non-existence of Australia. You guys are all under arrest. Yeah, no comment.
I think we've got a pretty convincing thing going on here. Like, people actually believe that we exist.
But do we?
Well, the powers that be are preventing us from completing the show, clearly. The first conspiracy theory we'll tackle is the whole flat Earth concept. Now, included in that flat Earth concept is the fact that Australia apparently does not exist and is a simulation or something created by the US government as a way of fooling people, distracting them. Now, regarding flat Earth, does anyone here in our panel actually believe it?
Nope.
Okay, cool. So
You don't think that any rational human being could believe that the Earth is flat, surely?
there must be a few rational people who somehow have been fooled into it. They could probably rational enough to function in society, yet they believe that Earth is flat.
They do have their own Facebook page as well. One of my friends is actually having an online battle with them at the moment, with the Flat Earth Society. Yeah, it's a quite interesting battle going on, disputing what they're talking, and they're trying to change his way of thinking, which is not going to happen.
I guess what's interesting about the flat Earth concept is the idea of the Earth being round was proven 2,000 odd years ago, longer, in Alexandria. Ancient philosophers had figured it out, literally by observing the sun and rotating in shadows on the obelisk in Egypt. So it was proven and calculated, and it was all set in stone. And in the last decade or so, all of a sudden we got this resurgence of a flat Earth where gravity doesn't work the same way. The sun and the moon are clearly a lot smaller than what they really are. And apparently we don't fly off a flat disk when we're spinning. So logic and physics have been tossed out the window for a belief in something that is utterly absurd. Why would people believing this? What's convincing them? And why would an entire subculture arise from an idea which is clearly insane?
Well, I guess people like to believe things that they can see. And if you're standing on the edge of a beach and you're looking straight, it looks flat. It doesn't look like it's curving around. So from, I guess, their point of view, where they're not really looking at things in a broader sense than just what they can see from the front of their noses, I guess it makes sense. But
yeah, one of the main factors is that fear of unknown that is being used to make sure an idea is coming along. And for one, that's why I'm interested in the idea of what's happening in Antarctica in general, because there's one floating around where there was a lost civilization. Atlantis was in Antarctica for a while. And there's also, actually, it was the Nazis' camp was there as well. So there's different ideas that are floating around based on the fact that because it's unknown, it's more easier to put out an idea across.
I reckon people are fascinated by stories. You bring up the Nazis. Like, one of the famous conspiracies was that Hitler was living in South America and he escaped the war. But nothing can be proven of that. Well, they have actually proven that he died in Germany, but for a long time there was a lot of conjecture about whether this was true or not. And I think it's just the fantasy sometimes is more exciting than the reality, and therefore people want to believe it. The other point I'd like to make also in regards to this is, I don't know if it counts as conspiracy, but there are many people out there that believe that climate change is a conspiracy, and this is something that we live and experience all the time, that we see changing climate conditions, and it's a serious debate. We talk about how some of these conspiracies are ridiculous in many ways, like flat Earth, but this is a real, group of people who believe in a conspiracy that could actually legitimately cause major problems to our future as humans on this planet. So
I think that's where the role of the fact checks comes into play. I think that's where a lot of the media organizations as well needs to play a huge role.
I don't think facts sell stories, though.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. The media are going to go with what sells.
Well, I think with the Flat Earth Society, those people mustn't have flown in an aeroplane, because anyone that's been flying, say, even just like up to Brisbane or Melbourne, for instance, you can actually see the curvature of the Earth when you're flying, so you can't say it's flat. That's maybe just me, maybe thinking too much inside of the box rather than some of these Flat Earth Society people, which probably like to think outside of the box. And maybe that's just my 2 cents worth, but yeah, you can definitely see it on a plane that there's a curvature of the Earth when you're flying and stuff like that, especially overseas.
I think there's also a biblical sense to flat earthers, isn't it? Heavily Christian believers in flat earthers, because in the Bible it doesn't mention like outside civilizations like aliens, anything like that.
Yeah.
And if you start to think that Earth is round, it means there could be other planets out there as well, just like people describe, and aliens and all the rest. And if the Bible didn't say, God created aliens, then it shouldn't exist, because it goes against what they believe.
The difference between a geocentric universe and a heliocentric universe. At the moment, we believe, and science effectively, in my mind, proven that we orbit the sun, as opposed to ancient theory, which was everything orbits us. If we are the center of the universe, then we don't have to be a sphere. We should be just a plane, and then everything just spins around us in that sense. The other issue that flat earthers tend to hinge their bets on is the Bedford level experiment. And there's the old Bedford River in the UK, and a dude decided that if he was on one side of the river and sent a ship or a boat down the other side of the river, all the way down, if the Earth was round, eventually that little boat should actually dip below the horizon, and you would effectively not see it anymore. However, as he was observing, for as long as he could actually see with his telescope, the ship never disappeared over the horizon. And he called it parallax as an example of what's going on. So now that's not exactly a really good experiment, because the Earth is far larger than the length of a river. So the actual horizon is a lot further away anyway. And also, if you're looking through anything that's telescopic, you are effectively bringing in that horizon closer to you anyway. So you're effectively distorting your vision. Our flat Earth brothers and sisters use that as an experiment, as a way of proof. But then the other interesting thing is, why would they think Australia doesn't exist?
I don't think it has any relevance to the argument at all. I think it's that they say that it's a distraction made by the US government, so it's literally just something where they can divert the topic elsewhere. It's got nothing to do with the actual flat Earth versus, round Earth or spherical Earth. I think it's just their way of saying, hey, they're trying to distract us by telling us there's this other place, just to sort of focus away from, what shape the Earth is.
The reality of Earth.
Look, I just want to say that in some cases, the skepticism is justified, where governments have used propaganda to try and what they consider to be the truth to cover up what is the real truth. And in specific relation to the flat Earth theory, remember 500 years ago, everyone used to think that the Earth was the center of the universe. And intelligent people like Galileo were crucified essentially for trying to prove scientifically that that wasn't true. But it wasn't based on scientific facts. It was based on a religious belief that the Earth was the center of the universe. And whilst I'm not defending flat earthers or conspiracists in general, sometimes a healthy dose of skepticism in the theory and the facts that are being taught to us, it is justified. So whether it's appropriate, in this, definitely in this case, it sounds ridiculous, but I'm sure that there is some conspiracy out there that is true that we should be questioning, right?
Definitely.
I think something you said there, though, was a healthy dose. I think flat Earth is very much an unhealthy dose of reality.
It's the fact that you got to constantly question whatever the facts that are coming through the media or any outlet for that matter, could be institutions, anything like that. And that's where I think the option is there. That's where a lot of the scientists come up with new theories as well. It's more the fact that they constantly keep on questioning existence itself. That's where I think you have to draw the line in the sand somewhere, where is the flat earth is like the extreme end, whereas then you got your government policies and media outlets throwing out messages constantly. Those sort of things you got to keep questioning, but it comes to a point where you got to know where you got to draw the line.
Okay, if we think the flat earth is the most extremist conspiracy, I would say that the reptilian overlords that rule our world are the most extreme conspiracy out there. Now, reptilians or reptoids or lizard people or saurians or draconians who have apparently come from the Draconis constellation have infiltrated our royal families, our governments, and effectively shape-shifting and taking over our world. Now, are they responsible for the flat earth conspiracy? Is the flat earth conspiracy a distraction from the real lizard people conspiracy? Does anyone here have any stories about or any experiences with reptilians?
I know that one belief is, so they claim that if you get vaccinations, you actually control your mind.
I definitely have met a few people who believe in the reptilian theory, but I think it all kind of stems down to that idea of just a higher being keeping us in a constant state of fear, which comes back to a lot of the conspiracies that you've mentioned, Ian. I think it's just that idea that will kind of keep people distracted from the fact that, like Spiro said, comes down to the idea that there's reptilian people living amongst us who are essentially controlling what we do. My housemate won't drink tap water because of the fluoride in it because she believes that there's something in there that's going to dumb us down and keep us from realizing these things.
Permeate certain propaganda slowly in your subconscious mind to get you to do what certain forces want you to do, making you feel that it is your voluntary decision. For example, the medicines which make you feel actually numb rather than curing those intangible issues of mind, they think that they are not harmful because they are believing they are serving humanity. But it is also a conspiracy because you are backing upon your ignorance. You're not having that absolute understanding about this problem and its root causes, but you are actually backing on your false belief that you can solve a particular problem and you're portraying it to society that it is actually for their good. I will term them as a conspiracy as well. Genetically modified food, it actually addresses the hunger of the world. It's also one of the biggest conspiracies. I will not touch that topic because of my certain colleagues of the vaccinations. But the vaccinations, in a way, I see that they are also a conspiracy as a tap water thing, which Catholics' friend is thinking that it might be that they want to influence your subconscious by controlling your mind. So if you look around you, you can find that conspiracy is in the root of 98% of the good-looking ideas and procedures around you.
See, I see that as a sad indictment on the way that people view government, view scientists, view, as I mentioned before regarding climate change, there are many that consider climate change to be an agenda that's being pushed by certain industry forces to promote solar as a way of making money or whatever their agenda is. Or why I think it's sad is because there's this inherent starting position that all people are trying to screw us over, and whether it's through genetically modified food, whether it's through microbes in our tap water, that there's some nefarious force sitting in the background ready to pounce and control our minds or control our bodies. At some point, we've got to have a little bit of faith in each other. I genuinely believe that people that are creating genetically modified food, as an example, are not trying to be in a conspiracy. They're trying to cure hunger. And if we stifle that kind of thing because we're afraid that maybe at some point something bad might happen, then what are we doing? We're condemning millions of people to die from hunger.
It's already happening. Actually, people are dying because of genetically modified food, and there's stats around everywhere that the people who are actually propagating this idea of genetically modified food, they are having no understanding how that particular force is getting injected into human biological structure and how it is actually creating certain side effects in time and space, which is beyond their perceiving and cognitive abilities. But they put their disclaimer in place with having that legal cover around it that this is what our approach is and this is what we think the area it can work on.
So they learn from that and improve the food.